So here we go. This is War and Peace, 7th edition by Avalon Digital. And what I'm going to do here is there are some squirrely little rules in the Grand Campaign game, which there's the strangest set of rules. This is very typical of some of the strange sort of half-baked rules that you see in the campaign game, but it's the special, it's under the French rules. Major state production. Okay, France has special rules here for the French invasion of England. So let me just read these to you. Considerable preparations were made prior to 1805 for a French invasion of England. The plan was to land near London, take the city, and supply the army from the land of the enemy. Okay. While the planned invasion never took place, there is uncertainty how effective the transports were. And there is uncertainty. The threat of invasion was taken seriously by Great Britain. Now, it's hard to tell that it's been taken very seriously given how little army is in England. But, of course, they're talking about the deployment of the fleets, right? Anyway, there are two special rules in play, okay, for this French invasion of England. The first one, if at any time there are no unblocked English squadrons, unblockaded English squadrons in the North Sea Zone, and a French transport is located either at Boulogne or at sea in the zone, French army units may cross the channel during the ground movement phase with the following restrictions. Now note that these restrictions, by the way, have nothing to do with transport capacity of the actual transport, because apparently this represents these special strange barges that Napoleon made for this invasion that were parked along this beach here. Anyway, the special rule is as follows. A maximum of 2 leaders may cross per turn, accompanied by up to maximum ground forces they may be accompanied by. So that's basically, let's say, 10 steps plus any cavalry. Then it says, though, no cavalry may cross. So we can't send cavalry across on these barges. That makes sense. Each moving leader's force must make an attrition roll and immediately remove the requisite number of strength points as you land over there, apparently. Only leaders located in the hex containing the city of Boulogne may cross the channel. Only hexes containing the brown-shaded coastal zones in England may be the destination hex. Okay, now we have a problem with that because I'm going to zoom in here, because Gant even himself admitted that he, in the 6th edition, did not. He said the brown invasion zones didn't make the printing run. Now you can see from the Boulogne, this is Boulogne here, you can see, what can you see here? Oh no, sorry, here's Boulogne. Here's Boulogne right here, okay? Boulogne is here, Calais, and then there's these 2 weird arrows which point to nowhere. I have no idea what the intent of it was, but this is the idea by the developer to point that this is the invasion location. Then apparently there's supposed to be brown-shaded British hexes, but there are no brown-shaded British hexes here. All you have is the red coastline that you can see on the map, and the Avalon Digital version 7, edition 7, did not have those brown coastlines either. So, a typical gap in the production values of this game. One of the very disappointing elements of how this game was presented is precisely something like this. So we have to make up our own rules. Now, basically, we can have what I would say is a stack of 20 infantry here, and then it's going to cross in the barges, and I'm just going to say, for the sake of argument, that it can land next to Dover and in Dover. Okay, those are the two hexes that it can go to, because those are the two hexes that are closest to Boulogne. It's the only thing that makes sense. The way those barges were, if you read about them, they barely could survive any action at sea. And in fact, Napoleon, when he did a demonstration with him watching, I think 2,000 Frenchmen died because the thing was a complete bust. So it was quite embarrassing. So when does this invasion occur? Well, the assumption here is that Trafalgar had not been won by the British, and that for a period of, let's say 3 months, they were able to clear the channel and keep the British out. So, why am I doing it this way? Well, because of the naval rules. Unfortunately, these naval rules, they've always been pretty bad. Not working very well. And then, apparently a number of additions occurred, and then the naval rules were supposedly improved. But then, when you look at these crazy looking boxes here's a box for the North Sea. You have all of these strange arrows. You have an arrow here that says +1 pointed to what? I guess this line here, or I don't know. The MPs for the North Sea, MT +2, MP +1 to North Atlantic, to Baltic Sea, to Atlantic Ocean. All of this is a little bit crazy looking. Not only that, they decided that they thought it was going to be cool to have these naval boxes sticking around out in the middle of the ocean, which now means it's hard to figure out where the ocean is. And I don't know. They've botched it. And then the funny thing is, over on BGG, Gant said, well, if you don't want to play with the naval rules, just use the transport units and forget about using the naval rules, which tells me that he didn't even want to bother explaining or training how to use the naval rules, probably because he never play tested them or had them play tested very well in the first place. And you can tell that this was never play tested because it didn't even make it into print. So what I'm going to do if I play the Grand Campaign game, which I'm still tempted to do, is I'll roll a die at the beginning of the game, September 1805. If I roll a 6, it means the French have their one shot to try to invade England. After that, forget it. The sea lanes are closed forever, just like they were pretty much close to the French after Trafalgar anyway. And the whole naval game is kind of not that important. If you look at all of the different scenarios for this game, hardly any of them use naval units, and if they do use them, it's just abstract use of transport units. So overall, let me zoom back out. Overall, who cares about the naval rules? Which is really a shame, but essentially they weren't that important to the overall Napoleonic campaign, so why bother with them? Other games basically have this come up as a card, that at some point in time the British can play a card. I think this is an Age of Napoleon. You play the card, and that's when Britain controls the seas for the rest of the time and gains some benefits for controlling the seas. So we're going to do the same thing here. What we'll probably do is start this scenario not in September, but in October. We're going to assume that in September they find out that the sea lanes can be clear, and even though there is a threat from Austria and Russia, what's going to happen is these units, including Napoleon, Ney, and Crowd, these guys here and these guys here will guard the Prussian line. These guys, Soult and his stack, and these guys here are ready. There's the transport. And then these guys also will be able to come and cross over. So Soult has all this cav. These cav can't come. So you got, it looks like, I think you have 12 or 15 infantry from Soult. No, these are the 3. So you have 15 infantry here that can go in on the first crossing. They can land in the 2 hexes and take the attrition result. And then what I'll do is I'll allow these guys over here. You can see there's a stack of 4 infantry over here in Brest. They can come in on the second turn and land at Dover or on a coastal hex to support the invasion. And as you can see, there's no mention of how supplies work in these special rules. It's like, let's forget about explaining how everything works. Let's just say you can do this. That's it. I suppose that you're supposed to transport supply as per normal, but since you can transport 20 factors with only 1 step of transports, which could only normally transport 5, you would assume the barges could send supplies over too. So I have no idea, what the individual was thinking. Anyway, so that's going to be the plan. So these guys over here, you got another 10 steps over here that can make it from Amsterdam. We got another batch of steps over here, plus the 15 here. And these are going to invade England. I'll probably give England some reinforcements for the month of September. And everything's going to start from October, November, and December. And we're going to give, I think the British can make partisans and stuff like that. So I'm going to have to see how long this could actually take for us to, and what kind of objectives would be. I would say, of course, you have to at least take London to win. I would say maybe it's a draw if you take London. If you also take another port like Portsmouth, marginal victory. And I think if there's some force marching allowed, you might be able to get more. If you look at this, because it's all covered up, that's the Thames. I think that's crossable, but it's really hard to say. You've got this kind of artistic razzmatazz going on. Like, look at this hex from Cardiff over to here. It's thicker than your average river. Does that mean it's sea? What does that mean? Does that mean that's crossable or not? This is river. That's clearly crossable. So I would say that, judging from this, that this crossing from here to here, just to make this interesting, is not going to be allowed. So in 3 months, I don't think, the first month you can only land here, and the second month you can go ahead and maybe make it up through here. And I think if there's British partisans, though, that might screw you up as well, too. So it might take, a very short period of time to have this battle, be fighting across this river, and then maybe they'll be going into siege situation. So in order for us to conquer England, I think they have to take all of the cities. So I don't think the scenario will demonstrate the ability to conquer England, but it will at least demonstrate what will happen in the first half of all of this particular battle. So that's what I anticipate. The landing here on these 2 hexes, after which advancing up, try to take Portsmouth and London with what I've got. And it should be possible for the British to make sure that that's going to be an attack across the river. So I would say that, even if it's a 2-1 because of the river advantage, there's a good chance perhaps that the English could hold them off. But I just want to see what's going to happen. I really, really find it unsuitable that the naval rules are so difficult to grok that you just don't want to touch them. Especially when you know that in 1805 Trafalgar happened anyway, so what's the point? Why, do we really want to play with it when in most of the games, we're not going to need these naval rules for any reason at all. Who wants to mess around with it? You got enough to do just playing the regular campaign game on the land. So that's my take on it. Don't know what yours are. Comment, like, subscribe. Be interested to hear what you have to say. So I'll get this all set up and I'll do a playthrough in the next video. Thanks for watching.